So we've had earlier this week some really record-breaking heat here in the Pacific Northwest, and I think maybe even the west coast of the U.S. in general. And as a result, a number of people, perhaps several hundred people it looks like, and this obviously includes the British Columbia area of Canada as well, attributed some deaths to this just excessive, insane heat. Again, that is caused by climate change. And again, nothing of substance is being done, structurally to address this, and which is just really insane to think about. Like, this is something that affects literally everybody on Earth. But again, it's all these crises that capitalism causes will always impact the most vulnerable and marginalized among us. So poor people, homeless people, people are incarcerated, migrants, undocumented folks, other marginalized and vulnerable populations will always be impacted the most by these things. They don't have, money to be able to go fly to, their private, island or something that's not experiencing this massive heat wave, or they don't have air-conditioned homes, which a good chunk of people in this area don't, because we're not used to having 100 fucking degree plus temperatures here in the Pacific Northwest. So this is from Common Dreams, Jake Johnson. Horrifying. Record-breaking Northwest heat waves linked to hundreds of deaths. Climate action is literally a matter of life or death, and it can't wait any longer. I mean, it couldn't wait any longer like a fucking couple decades ago, and now we're at this point. We're just seeing these disastrous consequences, whether it's this record-breaking heat wave, forest fires just exploding all over the place. And it just makes me think how bad the forest fire season is going to be later this summer, when we're already having such dry and arid conditions, obviously not being helped by record-breaking 3 days in a row, Seattle area, 100 plus degrees, or hurricanes, or like just massive flooding, just all of these impacts of climate change, and literally nothing is being done, either on a state level or a federal level. It's disgusting. The record-shattering heat wave currently scorching the PNW has been linked to hundreds of deaths in the region over just the past week, with BC alone reporting at least 486 sudden and unexpected fatalities since last Friday. While it's unclear how many of those deaths were a direct consequence of the heat wave, the chief coroner of the Canadian province said in a statement that, quote, "It is believed likely that the significant increase in deaths reported is attributable to extreme weather." Yes, I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, how could it not be? And again, good majority of people in these places aren't going to have air conditioning or the ability to, go stay in a fucking hotel that has air conditioning, because that's really expensive if they could even get a room. Oregon, the medical examiner's office has received reports of more than 60 deaths believed to be tied to the dangerously high temps that have hit the state in the recent days. On Monday, the temperature in Portland soared to a record 116 degrees Fahrenheit. In fucking Portland, Oregon, 116 degrees. Should maybe be 80 there right now, tops. 116. That was sufficient to melt city power cables. I believe that is the the Portland streetcar. I saw a photo where it was fucking melted, basically. Yeah. Canceling our service. That's what the heat wave's doing to their power cables, literally fucking melting them. Alright, fuck off. I don't need this thing on here. Obviously, yes, donate if you can. Common Dreams is pretty decent. Fucking melting the cables on the Portland streetcar. In the city of Salem, located roughly 50 miles south, temperature reached an all-time high of 117. I mean, this is fucking temperatures you see in the fucking, like, Sahara Desert. I mean, Jesus Christ. Preliminary cause of death for 45 people in Multnomah County, that's in Oregon, ranging in age from 44 to 97, was determined to be hyperthermia, an unusually high body temp caused by failure of the body to deal with heat. The Wall Street Journal reported Wednesday, quote, by contrast, only 12 deaths for hyperthermia for all of Oregon between 2017 and 2019. Jesus. Damn, that's nuts. According to local medical examiner, many of those who died in Multnomah County were discovered alone without air conditioning or a fan. And again, this record heat wave really caused a lot of people, obviously, to go out and buy fans or air conditioning if you could afford it. Again, fan a little bit cheaper. You know, you can maybe pick one up $20-30 if you could find one now. We were at Costco earlier this week doing some shopping. There's a sign right before you go in, no AC, no fans. And again, most people don't have AC in the Pacific Northwest because you usually don't need it. I can't remember a day in my life where it has gotten over 100 degrees here. So last week, there were 3 of them in a row. 100 got close to or over 110 degrees, which is just insane. And again, a lot of people, working class people, aren't just going to be able to go out and shell out several $100s for an air conditioning at a whim. Again, climate change, like all these crises caused by capitalism, affects the most vulnerable and marginalized people and populations amongst us. Washington State, where I live, has also experienced record-breaking heat, with 2 weather stations in Chelan County, that's in eastern Washington, recording a temperature of 119 on Tuesday afternoon. At least 13 people have reportedly died in Seattle area as a result of the heat wave, number that is likely to grow as high temperatures persist and investigations into recent deaths across the state continue. Luckily, it's cooled down a bit. I think today, maybe, let's see. So tomorrow it's going to be 81, low of 59, which still a little bit higher, but obviously a lot better than 110 degrees fucking plus. The death toll from the heat wave is horrifying. 321 excess deaths in BC over 6 days, 63 deaths attributed to heat in Oregon, 16 deaths in the Seattle area, no official statewide tally yet. CNN reported Thursday at least 676 people in Washington State visited emergency departments for heat-related symptoms from Friday through Saturday before the heat wave hit its peak. On Monday alone, there were 688 heat-related emergency department visits. I mean, almost 1,000 people. Let's say, let's round it up quite a bit. Almost 700 people one day had to go to the emergency room because it got so fucking hot. Like, it became an emergent. Like, just think about that. Rep. Jayapal, who represents the Seattle area, said Wednesday that the heat wave further demonstrates that, quote, climate action is literally a matter of life or death, and it can't wait any longer. Then why aren't you calling out Joe Biden's bullshit, his opposition to tackling this climate crisis? Scientists have directly attributed the devastating PNW temperature spikes to the human-caused climate crisis, warning that government's continued failure to slash carbon emissions in line with current science will lead to even more intense heat waves in the near future, which is what I'm pointing to here, with the elderly, the unhoused, incarcerated people, unprotected outdoor workers among the most vulnerable to such extreme conditions. Well, and also think, obviously, the human toll is going to be great on the vulnerable and marginalized people amongst us, but also like the wildlife in these areas is not going to be accustomed to these massive heat waves. They're accustomed to much more mild temperatures because that's what the climate is supposed to be like before humans came in, or I should say capitalism came in and fucked everything up. We, quote, we've long known that a warming climate would yield more extremely hot weather. Climate scientist Michael Mann, I believe he worked at NASA, right? And science communicator Susan Joy Hassel wrote in NYT op-ed earlier this week. Quote, "The science is clear on how human-caused climate change is already affecting heat waves. Global warming has caused them to be hotter, larger, longer, more frequent. What were once very rare events are becoming more common. But there is a way out of this nightmare of ever-worsening extreme weather extremes, and it's one that will serve us well in many other ways too," they added. "A rapid transition to clean energy can stabilize the climate, improve our health, provide good-paying jobs, grow the economy, and ensure our children's future. The choice is ours." Something also that I find very interesting when, local or national media covers this from a meteorologist's perspective, they never actually address the elephant in the room, which is climate change. They just talk about this massive heat wave we're having. This is going to be today, it's going to be this hot here, it's record breaking, it's going to be record breaking tomorrow and the next day, but completely omitting this huge elephant in the room, which is climate change, which is really, frankly, disgusting and doing a real disservice if they're supposed to actually roll us to be educated just beyond like how hot it's going to be. Why is it going to be so fucking hot? I find that very, very problematic, to say the least. But again, like capitalism, a system that's built on exponential growth on a finite planet is always going to end up creating disasters, both for the planet, for the ecology of the planet ourselves, and then for us and all the non-human species that inhabit it. So, I mean, it's obviously to humanity's detriment to not take this climate crisis seriously, and doesn't seem like really any government is, at least that I can tell, really doing everything that they need to address it, especially from the United States perspective, which is the one I know best, living here in the shithole imperial core that is the settler colonial state known as the U.S. But again, these crises, and we've just seen this, will always affect the most vulnerable and marginalized among us, the people that aren't able to pay to go stay in a air-conditioned hotel, people that don't have AC, the people that can't buy AC, the people who have to go out and work in this weather, the people who don't have a home and are going to be exposed to this just sickening heat. Again, this is another example of how capitalism is the real virus. And there are many, unfortunately. Like the video if you like the damn video. Subscribe for more content. All part of the people. Peace. Much love.